welcome to Resist with Joy podcast, where we amplify the voices of everyday people and empower our listeners to engage, show up, and become the policy shapers of tomorrow. I'm Tina Marie.
I'm Martina. Hello. We'll dive into the top of the mind news from the last week, and we always cover 5 different things, and we end up on a positive note and things that help us get through these times. Let's dive right into this.
Dive right in. Well, we got the Iran war continuing ongoing. This war is costing us over $2 billion a day. I'm pretty sure we can think of other things that we can use that money on instead of, bombing people. What do you think?
Yeah, and for folks that are not so tied into this is an illegal war. Congress should give permission to go to war as a nation. It's illegal, but they just keep going forward and destroy more and more. My heart is always with the environment and the animals, and we always have to look at the human cost. It's already staggering, but it continues. We're recording today on Easter Sunday. We also got deranged Truth Social, and I'm not calling him my president, but he's the president of the United States, used profanity and was just wild. But the problem here is that many people wash what he says, trying to interpret what he says. But even the Iranians posted on social media that the 25th Amendment is in place, should be in place. And I cannot invoke it, but I hope people will do.
Rather impeachment be brought up on treason, so the entire cabinet goes away.
Yes, girl can dream.
I know that I do have some personal experience with Iran. I grew up with an Iranian stepfather. Fun fact about me. And I actually lived in Iran for 2 months in my early 20s. Ironically enough, during 9/11. That was fun. So
you were in Iran during 9/11?
Yes. And needless to say, I was going to stay there for about 6 months. But because that happened, I had to scramble and try to find a flight home. And it was pretty scary not to be able to immediately book a flight because we had no idea what was happening and flights were grounded for a few days. But I eventually made my way home. I did have a really great experience there, and the people were very nice. I definitely saw firsthand how scary the regime is. And anytime we walked past a government building, the family I was with kept telling me to cover up more. Things were a little bit more lax back then than they are now. And I know a lot of people are, getting harassed and killed and beaten for not covering up properly. And Iranian regime is disastrous for its citizens. I know there's a lot of narrative going around that if we're against the war, then we must be pro-regime, and that is not the case at all. I know there's a lot of Iranian people that are happy with the bombing, which I understand it to a point because their regime killed about 30 to 40,000 people earlier this year just because they were protesting. And
they were protesting for democracy. They wanted to have a different form of government, and it was just silenced.
And when you protest and your demands are not being met, and instead you're getting killed for it, what can you do? Like they have no power right now. So they're happy that we're killing their regime. At the same time, I don't see this ending well for them. Number one, I don't trust that our president is going to be the best person to invoke a democracy for them. I don't think he cares about their well-being. He doesn't even care about our well-being, nor does he care about our democracy. This entire war started because Israel wanted it to. And he didn't get congressional approval to go into war. He lied about why we're there. And this is all going to be just about for his own benefit. And I fear that the Iranian people are getting false hope for things to be better in their country. I certainly hope they will, but I don't see it happening, unfortunately, especially given my experience being here and there at the same time.
Yeah, it all ties into the instability that we all feel. I mean, I feel it on the inside. The world is so much more not stable than it used to be 10, 20, 30 years ago. And the current president just absolutely adds to that, because we just don't know what he will do. It's just all random. And I think everybody is in shock how random all the decisions that are being made, and brings so much anxiety and worries for the whole world. I mean, not just us here in the United States. My family is in Europe. I'm from Germany. And we're talking every time we talk, every weekend we talk, and it's all about that and how Europe perceives it, and how Germany and how governments trying to work with what is the truth today, what's the reality today, including the war in Iran and all the other threatening actions since he was inaugurated last year in January. Yes, difficult topic.
Mm-hmm. And it sucks that we're having to go outside of our country to get valid news, because our media is not showing everything that's happening. We have to go to other countries to get news about what's happening with our military actions, which is bonkers to me.
Yeah. Yep. Well, thanks to independent media, we just have so much more information available now if you tie into the independent media, which that's what we're doing now. We're trying to do our part to bring good information to people. So let's move to the second thing we wanted to talk about. It's that ICE is still in airports. It continues to be around in places where they shouldn't be. I do think that especially there was something in the news this week. We maybe put it into the show notes for folks as citizens, and a good way in Hawaii to report. There will be a phone number now established where you can call in and report. And then on each island, there will be always groups organized that can help out to monitor and record all activities. So yeah, we wanted to touch on ICE because it's something that affects so many people. And
ICE is not. And ICE is not at the airport to help the TSA agents. Let's be real about that. They're there to terrorize people and have another opportunity to detain people unlawfully without any due process, without any proper warrants. And they're getting paid to be there, and the TSA agents aren't, unless Congress acts to fund them. So it's ludicrous to me to be paying a whole set of people who have no training in national security to go to the airports to overlook what they're doing. So
I think a lot about logistics and how you go to work and you train for a certain logistics and organization to do your job, right? And they have no idea how airports work. You have seen so many pictures online where people are just, the ICE agents just stand around because it's about intimidation. But I do know that this week, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, he agreed to do the funding for everything for DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, except ICE. So That was accomplished this week. And there was just too much pressure. And that's what we want to encourage everybody to stay up to date and put pressure on the folks, the politicians, I guess, or the leaders we elect into office, and put the pressure points on so they do what we want. Because the bottom line is, in a democracy, the government is us. We are the government. And we just for a short time elect people into office. Like for the House of Representatives, it's for 2 years. Same here in the state for 2 years. And then if a senator is being elected, it's for 6 years. So they're only there for temporary. And we have to make sure we keep an eye out. And that's the big difference, I think, this year, that more people are so engaged and put a lot of pressure on the folks that are leading us.
Not only us putting pressure on our politicians, but I think that the biggest pressure about them caving on the TSA funding is the fact that TMZ has been outing every single politician that goes on vacation while TSA is not getting funded. And Delta Airlines has removed any of their perks for, getting through security checkpoints and whatnot for their airlines. So that's holding them up too. So I want to thank at least those two organizations for standing on business. And we need more of that. We need more of that from corporations to, put a sense of urgency and hold their feet to the fire, because that's what's going to actually change their minds to do anything. We can only protest so much, but if the politicians don't care about public opinion, our protests are just screaming into the wind. And they're great for people showing up and bringing attention to the issues and building camaraderie, but that's all they're going to do. So we do need extra pressure from organizations like Delta and TMZ to do the heavy lifting as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. TMZ. I've never watched really TMZ. I think it's TV too, right? See, that's what me.
Yeah, it's more tabloid type of
Tabloid,
news.
but they're getting tied into this,
Yes.
and not doing the two sides anymore. That's the dangerous thing here in America that I did not, when I came from Germany, I could not understand why we are always looking at things from two sides. If it's the truth and there's a fact, then you act on this. But here in America, there's always these two sides. And then I think it's fantastic that TMZ is more of a gossipy, I guess, something about
it's
public
a very
life.
gossipy tabloid, yes.
Yeah, that they're getting into the resistance. That's what we're trying to do. We do resist and have some joy with it. Just to clarify, we're not talking about happiness. It's not that we're happy. We just want to have creative work, joy, and an outlet to use our voice. And we wish that for everybody. We just chose a podcast to do that. So.
And what better way to be so petty as than to go through all the bad while remaining joyful? Do not let them take your joy away, because once they do, then you're just going to be a depressed lump of glob of lump, whatever. But if you can find moments of joy, even in chaos, it's going to help push you through and keep you from getting burnt out. And that's the whole point of resisting with joy, is you're going to resist the fascism, but you're also going to remain joyful while you do it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Pam Bondi.
Yeah, Pam Bondi is gone, girl.
So who's Pam Bondi or Bondi? She used to be the Attorney General. That's our highest law enforcement officer of the whole nation. And her legacy is, so she was fired this week, and as an acting Attorney General now, and he was the second in command. Now he's for a while acting. And well, what is her legacy?
She sat on the Epstein Files and did diddly squat with them. Mm-hmm. And everybody
lied about it. Yep.
And because everybody kept talking about it and it looked bad on the president, so he decided to get rid of her. Mm-hmm. I also think that he is getting rid of the women in his cabinet, even though the men in his cabinet are doing just as atrocious things, if not worse. But this is the misogyny creeping up, that he's just making the women look bad at this point. And I'm wondering when Caroline Leavitt's going to get the boot.
Well, she's pregnant. She might have a reason to leave,
Yeah.
So there's another way out. But you're right, Kristi Noem, the Secretary for Department of Homeland Security, left, and it's replaced by a man. And then now Pam Bondi is gone, and we'll see who's the next in line. Yeah, when we talk about Epstein, I always think about, why is this not going away? I mean, I have an answer to that. It's just that for the first time, the survivors had a chance last summer in 2025 to get to know each other. Think of it, they were always separated and didn't have a way to communicate. And thank God for the folks in Congress and these two congressmen that pushed forward the legislation to create transparency about the Epstein Files. Mm-hmm. And thanks to their pushing that forward and pushing it all the way to the fall to make it actually a law. And there was so much pressure on them, on the whole Congress, to push this through. And that gave the survivors a chance to get organized. And I'm dialed into them in the sense of, like, there's an organization, it's called World Without Exploitation. You can put it in the show notes if you want to learn a little bit about it. How they just found an organization where they can come together and keep pushing forward. I mean, I'm ready for that world. My heart aches every time I think of any of them, how much heartache and trauma they have to endure and keep fighting.
And reading some of the atrocious things that are in the Epstein Files have just kind of broke me in ways that I never thought I could be broke. And even listening to the Sasha Riley tapes, that there's a lot. If you haven't listened to it, I urge everyone to go take a listen. It's on Substack. Mm-hmm. But just some of the things that he said were just mind-boggling to me. He's claiming that he's the reason that Trump has lost control of his bowels. So, and he says he has evidence of that. So I would love for that to be investigated, because he was a minor, if I recall correctly, when he was sexually abused by him. But just listening to some of the other things, it made me realize that when people get too rich and they have unlimited resources, if this is what they end up doing to people, then it's more of an excuse to make sure that we don't have any billionaires ever, if this is what humanity does when they have it.
Yeah, the few, we're in a class war, right? That's what we're fighting right now. But the class war, it's just so apparent now, right? With billionaires and normal people. But, I listened to a podcast the other day, and it was about how far it goes back. It was always the aristocrat, hard word for me.
Aristocrat.
Thank you. I'm not going to say it. Can't say it. Aristocrats. Wasn't there a movie called Aristocats? Anyway,
Yes.
That's not the ones I mean. Aristocrats versus the common people. That concept has always been in our time as humans on the planet. But we thought we would have developed further as a human species. And now we're still in a class war. And I hope through all the work you do, I do, many do, that we come to a better place. And I think it's a worldwide movement to say the human species, we have to do better, and
Absolutely.
let's see where we end. I personally have a 10-year plan to stay engaged for 10 years. I hope that our listeners can spend some time to be an activist as well, and whatever floats your boat, right? So whatever makes you and brings you joy in the work that can be done for a better world for all of us.
And what can bring us joy? Getting together at our protests. Here's some positive news that we have to share for this week is during the No Dictators, we call it No Dictators here in Hawaii, we had over 2,200 people show up at our protests. And that's the most that we've ever had during the indivisible protests since Trump got reelected.
It was a big party. It was so cool because sometimes we have 50 people when we started small. I think the first one was 100 people in February 2025, maybe even earlier than that. And then we went to 500, 600, and then we had some really big ones like last October, 1,500. And that was along the highway already, party time. I mean, there was so much joy in the people to release their emotions and also have a new connection to other people and seeing my neighbor thinks the same way. And we topped it off last weekend on the 28th of March. It was 2,200, and I think 53 was the ticker, or 51. There's a little ticker that someone walks by and counts the people. And that is not even counting the folks that drove by. And they were all honking and have signs. And
people that drove by with their signs are just so heartwarming to see because I feel like they're joining the protest in their car. And I think that is wonderful.
Yeah. I wish I could talk to one of them. I was saying, maybe they drove up and down several times. Who knows? So that's how you can be a part of a protest too. So yeah, the resistance is there. We all hope that more folks will stay up to date in the news and tied into what's happening with the world. Because even if we are in remote islands on the Big Island, the world touches us either way.
I even interviewed quite a few people that were at our protest, asking them what brought them there today. And we had a whole wide range of responses. We had people that were on vacation that took a day out of their vacation to come protest with us. We even had a Canadian woman there standing in solidarity for democracy. And it was so heartwarming to have them there. And we also had a couple people from our Democratic Party show up. One of them is a House rep for the state in one of the districts. And we also had another person that was part of the county committee, which I'm also part of. So it's great to see the Democrats show up. It's great to see people on their vacation, people from out of country, and then a bunch of us locals getting together and getting to know one another. I've made so many friends just by showing up at the protests.
Yeah. I ran into someone who I hadn't seen in 8-9 years, local. And I just usually walk up and down the highway just to be engaged with people. And it was such a warm welcome. And he said, I had to look it up. I had to come. I had to do the work too. I felt like it was an important step forward for activism for a better world. And it was really, I still think about it a lot, what happened last week. So it was good.
It's also comforting for me to see people there because then I don't have to wonder about them. Did they vote for him? Did they not?
Right. Yeah. All right. So that is our wrap up of last week's
top of my news.
Yes, top of the news. Just 2 women based in Hawaii on the Big Island. We have a voice. We want to use it. And so we will be back next week telling our stories and how we feel about things and tied into how government works. And we hope you come back and make sure you use the
Like,
share,
subscribe, comment, share, do all the things.
all of it. And talk to you later.
See you
Aloha.
next time. Aloha.